Hey, welcome in, everybody. Thank you all for coming. I see Costa Mom's here, Brian K, Pierce, Now My Circus, Snoopy. So thank you all for coming in. Make sure to share out the stream if you can. Also, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you're not subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We are trying to reach 600 subscribers. We are currently at 531. So, I got something a little different for you guys tonight. Usually our vacation streams are usually done on rides. Today we're not gonna do rides. We're gonna visit areas around the world. But before we do that, I wanted to. I explained this before on some of my past streams on how you could do this without an Oculus Quest. But I couldn't find my device. I did finally find it. So this is one I bought from Walmart. Basically, all it is like a little set of goggles. And you basically, let me stay in the camera. You take this out. You put your phone in here. You load YouTube and watch a 360 video. And you slide it back in. If I can get it back in. And then you put on the goggles and you're watching the same 360 videos that I do on the Oculus Quest, but this is a lot cheaper. Now, I bought this years ago at Walmart. However, let me put that down. However, if you happen to Google it on Amazon, you can find a whole bunch of them. Some of them are expensive. This one's $70, but you can find some for like $22. $30. You got the Google Cardboard for $7. Any of these will allow you to do the same thing I do, which is basically just watch YouTube 360 streams, but on your phone instead of an Oculus Quest. But with that headset, you accomplish the same thing. So anybody that's interested and doesn't want to buy a Quest, that is a very viable option to search Amazon. Let me bring up that page again so you can see what I searched. So basically, all I searched was phone VR goggles, and it came up with a whole bunch of them. So that's a cheaper way than buying a Quest if you wanted to. So let's go ahead and before we let's get on to our vacation, shall we? Welcome in, Andrea, John V. Welcome in, everyone. So I'm basically, again, just starting my quest. I've tried to start it prior to the stream, but it doesn't seem to work that way very well. And sometimes, unfortunately, there we go. I don't know why it was taking forever to load. Let's do this so you guys can hopefully see it. Apparently not. Okay, now you guys can see it. All right. So let's start our vacation, shall we? Hold on. Apparently we have some sound issues. We don't want sound issues. We don't want sound issues. Why is it giving sound issues? Yeah, I know, and it's not supposed to be doing that. Okay, where am I? Oculus. No, can't blame him. He's streaming, so can't blame him. Let's see, let's do noise suppression. There we go. Hopefully that helps. It doesn't sound like it's helping us, does it? All right, let's try it. Hopefully it's not too bad for you guys. Oh, that might have been the background to my home environment, actually. I just realized that. I didn't realize that that home environment had a background.
So it's a beautiful place, but it's a working palace. And that's what's really important to remember. Now, my role as master of the household, it's a very ancient role. It's over 400 years old. It started off with James I in 1603.
Okay.
So in modern terms, I would say people would call me the chief operations officer for the Queen.
All right, so we're going to start off with Buckingham Palace.
Anna, come forward. Anna is the curator for paintings for Royal Collection Trust.
I'm going to take you on an expedition through Buckingham Palace today, pointing out some of the highlights and showing you the various different rooms that make up the palace. You guys. But this wasn't always a palace. Buckingham Palace wasn't always a palace. It was actually originally a smaller house called Buckingham House. And it belonged to the Duke of Buckingham, which is who it's named after. And it was bought as a private family home by George III. make changes to the palace, make the rooms bigger. He actually made the entrance hall here. He lowered the floor so that the ceiling would appear taller. And he added these amazing flights of stairs that really give you this sense of excitement as you move up into the rest of the staterooms. Something that you might spot are all the different marble columns that are around this room. There were originally 104 here in the Marble Hall. That's why it's called the Marble Hall. And in 1829, one very, very large block of marble was brought along the Thames, and it actually weighed as much as 2 double-decker buses. So you can imagine it took 17 horses to transport it here. So we're going to continue up the grand staircase. One of the most expensive things in the palace is something that you might not expect. It's the balustrade that you can see here, making up the banister. And this is actually made of gilt bronze. So it's bronze that's been cast into this very ornate foliate design and then covered in a very thin layer of gold. And it makes up this grand staircase. So as visitors move up from the darkness of the grand entrance into the light up here, it creates this magnificent feeling. So after you come up the grand staircase and through the guardroom, you enter the green drawing room. And I think it's quite easy to understand why it's called the green drawing room. And it's always actually, the walls have always been hung with green silk, and they're replaced about every 30 years. But you can also see in here, you've got green upholstered furniture and green Sèvres porcelain on the various different mantelpieces and on the cabinets that are around the room. Now, one of my favorite pictures in the whole collection and in this room is this one here, which shows 3 daughters of George III. And I love this painting because it shows 3 children who actually lived here when this was Buckingham House, when it was still a private home. And now we're going to go into the throne room. Now, this magnificent room is the throne room. So as you walk up the grand staircase, you progress through the different rooms, and you reach the throne room and you find the throne. So Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth's throne is on the left, and then her husband's, Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, is on the right. Now, what makes this room so special and feels so special is the fact that it was designed by a theatre designer. So that element of theatricality is everywhere. There are swags of curtains that look like curtains that close onto a stage. You've got these amazing sparkling chandeliers that now are electric light, but originally when this room was built would have been candlelight. We're now standing in the picture gallery at Buckingham Palace, which is an incredibly long room that was created by knocking through 3 rooms in the original Buckingham House. It's right exciting. In the middle of the palace, this room. And it was made for George IV because he wanted to display his amazing collection of paintings. George IV absolutely loved paintings, and he bought particularly Dutch art, which is what you can see surrounding on the walls at this end of the room. The other type of paintings that are in here, there are lots of Italian pictures. And one that I'd like to point out to you is this view of Venice by the Italian artist Canaletto. Now, Canaletto, we have the largest collection of Canalettos in the Royal Collection that exists anywhere in the world. There are over 50 in the Royal Collection. And they were all bought as a group. They came into the collection by George III, actually, in 1762, when he bought Consul Smith's collection. He just bought an entire group of pictures and used them to decorate his palaces. Now, to tell you a bit more about what this room looks and feels like on the evening of a state banquet, I'm going to pass over to the master again.
Thank you very much, Dina. Well, you can imagine this is the centerpiece of a state visit, a state banquet, which is a fabulous event and really spectacular. As you can imagine, the atmosphere is electric. Exactly where I'm standing now is where the Queen will sit, is the top table. So the Queen is sitting here, she can see me and eyeball me very clearly if anything's going wrong, and the head of state is on her right-hand side. And you can imagine there are over 200 people in this room. We've got 171 guests, and the tables are groaning with silver and gold, with over 5,500 pieces of silver, over 2,000 pieces of cutlery, knives, forks, spoons, and over 1,000 glasses, all Georgian glasses, well over 200 years old, each of them. And we've got about 80 of my staff serving these 171 people, 4 courses, 5 types of wine, at the end of which the finale is created by 12 pipers walking around the ballroom, filling the whole room with a glorious sound of bagpipes. And they really do sound fantastic. So it gives a completely new meaning to all surround sound.
Now, this is the White Drawing Room. It's another one of the rooms that the Queen uses for entertaining, so receiving guests. And you can see it's one of the most ornate, with amazing chandeliers, yellow upholstered furniture. And then over in that corner, there's a gold piano. It's a piano made by the firm called Erard, and it was bought by Queen Victoria when she was queen. She actually played the piano very, very well with her husband. And this piano is decorated with mischievous monkeys making music and getting up to all sorts of trouble. Another amazing work of art in this room is this desk, which is from the late 18th century. And it was made by the cabinet maker, Jean-Henri Riesner. And it's inlaid with all sorts of different woods. And originally when it was made, the woods would have been different colors. So the patterns that you can see, which are flowers and fruit, would have stood out much more strongly. But even within 6 months of it being made, they'd faded to all these different kind of browns. Now, this desk is actually very special because it has a complicated mechanical mechanism inside that Riesner was known for. And you can actually only open the lower drawers when the top of the desk is rolled back. So it has kind of secret drawers and secret hidden compartments. And there's actually another secret in this room that I'm going to show you. If you follow me, not everyone gets to see this. This is a room where the Queen can suddenly appear into this room. And that's because there's a secret door. When you look at this wall, you see the fireplace, and on either side, you see cabinets with porcelain and candelabra on top. But the cabinet on the left actually opens, and it reveals the secret door.
So see, Buckingham Palace has a secret door.
That's where the Queen comes in from her private apartments when she's meeting guests here. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for letting me show you around Buckingham Palace. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed finding out more about the rooms and about some of the amazing paintings and works of art here.
Well, we really hope you've enjoyed your tour of Buckingham Palace with Anna. We've certainly enjoyed having you, and thank you so much for coming to join us. Now, if you've got any interest at all in anything else you've seen, anything caught your eye, whether it's a picture or work of art, please don't hesitate to visit our website. It's royalcollection.org.uk, and lots of information there, particularly about schools' resources, any school trips, any learning.
So what did you guys think of that one? Go for it. All right, so our next stop is a guided tour in Paris. Most of these are pretty short videos, so they're not too long. Also, most of these videos are brought to you by a... let me pause that for a second. Most of these videos are brought to you by a YouTube site called VR Gorilla. The link is in my description below. So if any of you wanted to do this on your own, that is a very good site to take some tours around the world. So let's start our tour of Paris.
City of Paris, one of the most beautiful, historical, and above all, romantic cities in Europe, if not the world. Right now, we are on Place de l'Opéra, named after the Garnier Opera, also known as Palais Garnier, the ornate building in front of you. It's one of the most famous opera houses in the world, built in the 1800s at the behest of Emperor Napoleon III. Today, the opera house is mainly used for ballet performances. This picturesque square is called Parvis de l'Hôtel de Ville, named after the pretty building in front of you, which houses the city's local administration. And looking to your right, you can see one of the most iconic landmarks of Paris, the Notre Dame, which is where we're going next. The most famous Gothic cathedral of the Middle Ages, and distinguished for its size, antiquity, and architectural interest, the Notre Dame de Paris. It lies at the eastern end of the Ile de la Cité. The cathedral suffered damage on several occasions during its long history. The most devastating one happens to be the most recent. During a restoration campaign in 2019, a fire broke out in the cathedral's attic, and a massive blaze destroyed most of the roof, as well as some important ornaments. It may take decades before the cathedral is completely restored. Centre Pompidou is a 20th century architectural marvel with a very distinct and recognizable look. It is home to the National Museum of Modern Art, and it's internationally renowned for its 20th and 21st century art collections. Works of iconic artists are displayed chronologically, from Matisse and Picasso to Andy Warhol and Anish Kapoor. Between Saint-Germain-des-Prés and the Latin Quarter lies the Jardin de Luxembourg. The gardens were inspired by the Boboli Gardens in Florence and created upon the initiative of Queen Mary de' Medici, mother of King Louis XIII, in 1612. The gardens cover 25 hectares of land and are split into French and English gardens. At the center of the gardens lies the Palais de Luxembourg, originally built to be the royal residence of the regent Mary de' Medici. After the Revolution, it was refashioned into a legislative building. Since 1958, it has been the seat of the Senate of the Fifth Republic, France's current republic system of government. La Grande Arche de la Défense, also called La Grande Arche de la Fraternité, the Ark of Brotherhood, is a building and now a monument in the center of La Défense and in the commune of Puteaux to the west of the city. It is usually referred to simply as La Grande Arche. Let's see what the view is like from those stairs. A 360 feet cube. It is said that the Notre Dame Cathedral, not the smallest of buildings, fits into this open central space in its entirety. La Grande Arche is part of the perspective from the Louvre to Arc de Triomphe, which you can see all the way in the distance if you look closely. The Pantheon, also known as the Temple of the French Nation, constructed under orders of King Louis XV, who wanted to glorify his monarchy by building this church, dedicated to Saint Geneviève, the patron of Paris. After the 1789 revolution, the name changed to the Temple of Great Men. It has since become the last resting place for other great writers, scientists, generals, churchmen, and politicians who have made the history of France. Built in the 17th century, with foundations dating back to the 12th century, the Église Saint-Sulpice is one of the biggest churches in Paris. It is located in the heart of the 6th arrondissement, in the Saint-Germain-des-Prés district. Admire the beautiful facade with its two recognizable towers. Fun fact, the Église Saint-Sulpice is one of the sites in Paris where the film adaptation of the Da Vinci Code was filmed.
Ah, there you go.
Through the heart of the city flows this mighty river Seine, which borders 10 out of 20 of Paris's districts. There are 32 bridges in Paris that cross this river. Pont Neuf, which we are standing on right now, has been immortalized by artists, poets, and even 20th century films. The name Pont Neuf, the 9th bridge, was given to distinguish it from older bridges, and has remained after all the older ones have been replaced. It's now the oldest bridge in Paris crossing the Seine. The riverbanks are worth exploring. There are floating restaurants, discos, cafes, and free benches for all those travelers who are just as happy to enjoy a nice view with their own wine, bread, and cheese from a local grocer. This spot, close to Pont Neuf, appears to be a favorite place for locals to hang out and enjoy the sunset. The Pont des Arts is probably Paris's most famous pedestrian crossing because of the tradition for lovers to hang padlocks on the bridge's railing. But in 2015, because of danger of collapse, the city decided to remove the 700,000 locks hanging from the railing. The tradition to hang padlocks on an iron fence has been continued at a different location, the Sacré-Cœur. The Roman Byzantine style and wide color make the Sacré-Cœur a very recognizable landmark. Consecrated in 1919, it's another one of the iconic monuments in Paris. And with 11.5 million visitors annually, Sacré-Cœur is France's most visited church. It lies on top of the Bourg Montmartre, which is the highest point of the city and therefore has one of the most beautiful panoramic views over the capital. The Sacré-Cœur is open every day from 6 a.m. until 10:30 p.m. and entrance is free of charge, although you do have to pay to go up to the dome, if you're up for a 300-step climb, that is. The ambulatory walkway, which we are in right now, is home to a number of chapels, each one dedicated to a different saint. Other highlights of the church include the many beautiful stained glass artworks and a mosaic in the apse titled Christ in Majesty, which is among the largest Christ mosaics in the world.
Oh, this is amazing.
There are no guided tours of the interior of the basilica to ensure silence is maintained for prayer. Here is another one of those iconic structures that hardly needs an introduction. The Arc de Triomphe's construction started in 1806 under the orders of Napoleon Bonaparte, who wanted an icon to honor the victories of his grand army. Inscribed into the arc are the names of famous battles and generals. Arc de Triomphe lies at the western end of the Champs-Élysées, according to Parisians, the world's most beautiful avenue. And they might be right. The arc stands at the center of this Place Charles de Gaulle, a roundabout junction where a whopping total of 12 streets meet.
I
Let's
want to
continue our
try
journey
and get
to
through this
another one of those
intersection.
world-famous structures. The Eiffel Tower, one of the most famous and recognizable structures in the world. Constructed from 1887 to 1889 as the entrance to the World Fair, it was initially criticized by some of France's leading artists and intellectuals for its design. But it has since become a global cultural icon of France, and today it's the most visited paid monument in the world. Roughly 300 million people from all over the world have visited the tower since its opening in 1889. The best view of the tower is enjoyed from Champ de Mars Park, which offers plenty of opportunity to relax and have a picnic, for instance. The park is named after the Campus Martius, Mars Field, in Rome, a tribute to the Roman god of war. The name alludes to the fact that the lawns here were formerly used as drilling and marching grounds by the French military. The Place de la Concorde is one of the major public squares in Paris, situated at the end of the Champs-Élysées. The square was created in 1772 and originally known for having been an execution site during the French Revolution. Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, among many others, were guillotined here. Today, it is most famous for the Luxor obelisk, a 3,300-year-old Egyptian obelisk erected on the square in October 1836.
Oh, that's
It had been given to France by Muhammad Ali Pasha, ruler of Ottoman Egypt. The square is surrounded by prestigious hotels, and there are 2 monumental fountains to be admired. With more than 600,000 artifacts and over 10 million visitors every year, the Louvre is the world's largest art museum. This pyramid, used as an entrance, has the exact same proportions as the Great Pyramid of Giza. The choice of this figure also serves as a reminder of the importance of the Egyptian antiquities collection inside the museum. Created by the Cardinal Richelieu in 1633, the Palais Royal, just a short walk from the Louvre, housed royal families up until the Palace of Versailles was built. The gardens are surrounded by superb, futuristic architecture with contemporary sculptures by Buren and Berry. These 260 black and white striped octagonal columns have become another one of the symbols of Paris. And here, on a bank of the River Seine, right where it splits in two and forms the Ile de la Cité, our tour has come to an end. I hope you had a great time. Thank you for watching.
And that was our tour of Paris. So we're going to take a quick, I guess, a 5-minute tour of London now. Actually, before I do that,
Hi.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to make sure I didn't skip one for you guys.
Hi, and welcome to London. My name is Peter, and I'm going to show you around to all the great hotspots of this city. The Big Ben behind me, the Westminster Abbey on the right of you, and many more. So, come follow me.
Wait up!
The tower in front of you is called the Big Ben, one of the most striking and well-known tower clocks in the world. In fact, the Big Ben is not the clock itself. It is actually the name of the big bell inside the tower, and its official name is the Great Bell. It was built in 1859 and is one of the most prominent symbols in the United Kingdom. Another great symbol is this 1,000-year-old church, the Westminster Abbey. It has been used as a venue for many famous and royal weddings, like that of Prince William and Kate Middleton. It's also the final resting place for many great Brits, like Darwin, Newton and Dickens. The entrance fee is 20 quid.
Wow, Charles Dickens is, I guess, buried there, or resting there.
Trafalgar Square is located in the city of Westminster. It is surrounded by musea and other cultural hotspots.
Yeah, there we go.
It's also a very popular square for street musicians to perform. Awesome music, guys! Reminds me of one of the great British bands who recorded their most iconic album in a studio somewhere here in the city. So you might wonder why these people are taking pictures of an ordinary crossing, but this is not just a normal crossing. It's the crossing the Beatles used for their cover of Abbey Road. And the studio is right around here. The best way to move around the city is by metro, or as the Londoners call it, the tube.
This station is Hanson. You can either go between a train and a platform.
If you want to treat yourself to something really special after a long day in the city, you might consider going here, to this venue. It's one of the most famous concert halls in the world. Jimi Hendrix, the Beatles, The Cure, they all played here. And tonight, Eric Clapton is playing, and I'm gonna get my ticket. Tower Bridge is without a doubt the most famous bridge in London. The famed city architect Sir Horace Jones designed it. It has been used in a wide variety of movies, such as Doctor Who and Independence Day. It is said that around 40,000 people use the Tower Bridge every day. Across the Tower Bridge is the Tower of London. It was built in 1087 and is one of the oldest buildings in London. Through the years, it was used as a fortress, palace and a prison. Buckingham Palace is home to the royal family of England. The Queen and Prince Philip reside in this beautiful palace, which is guarded 24/7 by the iconic Foot Guards. The palace contains a whopping amount of rooms, 600 in total, including a cinema and a swimming pool. There's even a post office and police station located within the walls. The palace is open to the public during the summer months, and as you can see, it attracts an overwhelming amount of tourists every day. Soho is a popular entertainment district within the West End of London. It is well known for its risque attractions, such as sex shops and gay and lesbian bars. Located inside Soho is Chinatown. Chinatown had its uprising in the early 1950s with the return of British soldiers from World War II. It gained reputation because of the buzzing nightlife and Chinese cuisine. Today, Chinatown is the epicenter for anything your Oriental heart desires. It is also the last stop of our trip. And here, at the iconic Piccadilly Circus, our tour comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed this bustling city as much as I did, and I'll see you soon.
So I am going to So what do you guys think so far? You guys find it interesting? I'm hoping you find it interesting. I think it's pretty exciting, actually. So make sure you comment down below. If you like streams like this, we could do more virtual tours around the world. We're going to continue this one, but I just wanted to take a quick break and see what you guys were thinking so far, how you liked it or not. So we're going to go ahead and continue. All right, so our next stop is going to be Venice.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Gorilla Travels. We are in a city that's married to the sea. It was built in a crazy place in the middle of a lagoon, and it inspired artists from all over the world in music, poetry and painting. But above all, it's known for its mystic masked carnival, its romantic elegance and its incredible beauty. We are, of course, in Venice. Let me show you around.
Okay, show us around.
Venice. Who doesn't know Venice? The Phoenicians designed it as an exceptional place, the center of religious, civic and commercial life. The city, protected by its lagoon and blessed by the Saint Mark. The square we are standing on right now was and still is Venice's main public square. It's called Piazza San Marco, after Saint Mark, and houses some important landmarks. St. Mark's Basilica in front of you is the centerpiece of the square. The church houses the body of Saint Mark, which Phoenician merchants stole from Alexandria and brought to Venice in the year 829. They constructed the church soon after.
Oh, what a view.
Through the centuries, it has been adjusted and redecorated many times, which explains the mixed styles of architecture and decorations. Right next to the basilica, you'll find the St. Mark's Campanile, an impressive 98-meter-high bell tower. It is said that Galileo himself used the tower as an observatory to study the skies. There even is an elevator that goes to the top of the tower. The Republic of Venice, which existed from the 8th till the 18th century, was ruled over by the Doge, the chief magistrate, elected for life by the Venetian nobles. He was kind of a combination between the Pope and the President, an absolute ruler. The palace you see in front of you was the house the Doge lived in. That's why it's known as Doge Palace. These days it houses a museum. The square is still a great place to wander around or have a bite and enjoy the beautiful views. Around the corner you find a special bridge. This city is full of mystic and beauty, but the overhanging bridge you see here stands for a much darker reality. It once connected a government building to the city prison, and convicts crossing the bridge had one last beautiful view over the city before losing their freedom and often their lives. And as the story goes, many of them sighed in realization of this grim future, and that's why it became known as the Bridge of Sighs. Poor souls.
Oh, that's kind of grim.
You might have noticed that there are no cars in Venice, so the fastest way to get around is by boat. However, walking is also a great way to experience the city. The maze of small streets and canals offers shade and a lot to discover.
Gondola service. I'd like to take a gondola, except I can't swim.
Like this theater, Teatro della Fenice. First built in 1774, it's an icon of the Italian theater world. It became famous for the many opera premieres it housed of composers like Bellini, Rossini and Verdi. You'll find all kinds of touristic shops everywhere in Venice, but one area historically has been a merchant area since the beginning of the city. A visit to Venice isn't complete without a visit to the Rialto market. This market is one of the reasons Venice became an economic hub in the Middle Ages, and people have been trading fish and food here for over 1,000 years. And the cool thing is, today you can still buy your fresh fish here, straight from the lagoon, and it's also a great place to buy your holiday gifts. And that's what I'm gonna do right now. If you are tired of shopping and walking around, a welcome break is to use the cool-looking water taxis to see the city from the water. The Grand Canal gives you a great view of the bustling water life. I'm gonna give you a minute to enjoy it.
What a way to get around, huh?
Our little boat ride comes to an end at the beautiful Baroque style Basilica Santa Maria della Salute. In the 17th century, Venice suffered a particularly bad outbreak of the plague, in which 80,000 people died. You can imagine the horror. When the plague disappeared from the city, the Phoenicians built this church in honor of the Virgin Mary, who they believed saved them. From here, you can easily explore the southeast part of the city, which is a bit less touristic than the inner part of the city and offers some fine coffee places and boutiques. This might look like an ordinary bridge, but actually there's an interesting story behind it. If you look down, you can see 4 footsteps, and these mark the places where rivaling clansmen would meet in the 17th century around Christmas time to fight out their quarrels. And they would fight with their bare hands, and that's why it's called the Bridge of Fists. Quite a few painters have made works about this yearly spectacle. Among them, La Guerra dei Pugni by Antonio Stombo. Speaking of paintings, close to the bridge you'll find the Galleria della Accademia. It hosts a fine collection of pre-19th century art and works of Bellini, Titian and Canaletto, but is probably best known for the Vitruvian Man by Da Vinci, which shows the ideal proportions of man. Venice offers great Italian places to have a coffee,
I don't think he
pasta,
did
or
the jump
pizza.
in.
And like everywhere in Italy, the food is delicious and the service is great. The last place we take you to is Rialto Bridge. It was the first bridge that was built to cross the Grand Canal in the 12th century.
Hello, welcome in,
Originally,
Manhattan.
it was a wooden bridge, but in 1524, after it collapsed a few times, it was rebuilt as a cornerstone bridge that still stands today. From the top, it offers a great view of the city. As it is the most popular bridge of Venice, it can get a little bit crowded at times.
Thank you, Emma.
And here at the Grand Canal with a view over the famous Rialto Bridge, our trip comes to an end. I hope you liked the beauty of Venice as much as we did. Don't forget to subscribe.
Stay below AAU prime time.
Why is it? I don't know why it's doing that. Let me lower my volume here. Getting feedback on the microphone. All right. No. Let me lower that more. All right. Hopefully, won't be getting much. I don't know why we're getting feedback on the microphone. Let me try something. All right. Hopefully that's better. All right. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 more that I programmed for tonight. We'll do Florence last because that's the longer one. So we're going to do Bangkok next.
Hi, and welcome to Bangkok, the gateway to Southeast Asia. And what better place to start than here on the infamous Koh San Road? The place where 99% of the tourists visiting Thailand start their trip. The streets are filled with bars, hostels and shops, and although right now it's quiet, probably because it's really, really hot, at night this place will be bustling with people. Soi Rambu Tree runs parallel to Khao San and gives you a taste of how Bangkok used to look before all the skyscrapers arrived. The street is much more tranquil than the ever-busy Khao San Road, but it also has a great mix of guest houses, restaurants, bars and street food stalls. Bangkok is the capital and most populous city of the Kingdom of Thailand. It is known in Thai as Phnom Penh. The city occupies over 600 square miles and has a population of over 8 million.
I'll look down for you
This
guys.
360 view from Bayok Sky Tower in the Ratchathani district is surely one of the best spots to see Bangkok in all its glory. With the antenna included, the building's height is 1,077 feet and features a rooftop bar on the 83rd floor, a 360-degree revolving roof deck on the 84th floor, and a hotel which offers 673 guest rooms. The area around Bayok Sky Tower is filled with shops and markets and offers a great place to buy some clothes or souvenirs at a much better price than you will find on the tourist hotspots like Khao San Road. Bangkok has a number of temples that are well worth a visit. You definitely don't want to miss Wat Phra Kaew, situated on the grounds of the Grand Palace. Together, they form the most visited attraction of Thailand. This ground was consecrated in 1782, the first year of Bangkok rule. And today, it is Bangkok's #1 pilgrimage destination for devout Buddhists and nationalists. Construction of the temple started in 1783 under the orders of Rama I, the first king of the Shakri dynasty. From then on, each successive king has been involved in adding, restoring, and improving the temple during their reigns, as a way of making their religious ambitions known, as well as glorifying the dynasty. Many important state and royal ceremonies are held within the temple each year, presided by the king in person and attended by government officials. This makes the temple the nation's primary place of worship and a national shrine for the monarchy and the state. Throughout the years, each king has donated sacred and valuable objects to the temple, making it a treasury of the state as well. And here we are, facing the Grand Palace.
The Grand
Former Thai
Palace.
kings used to house their huge harems in the inner palace area, which was guarded by combat-trained female sentries. The current king uses the buildings of the Grand Palace only for certain ceremonial occasions, such as Coronation Day, and they are largely off-limits to visitors. Through the heart of Bangkok flows this mighty river, Chaya Phraya, also known as Menam River. And a great way to discover the city is from the water on a typical traditional boat. So what do you say we get on one of those?
Okay, let's get on one.
The boat tours typically follow part of the Chang Phraya before discovering the many canals, locally named klongs. The Thai capital used to have many klongs and so gained the nickname Venice of the East. Klongs were used for transportation, for floating markets, but also for sewage disposal. Today, most of the klongs of Bangkok have been filled in, although the Thonburi side of Bangkok, where we are now, still retains several of its larger klongs. In some places, the canals are full of catfish.
Oh, look at those.
Along the bank of the
Look at the
canal,
size
you
of those
can often find
catfish.
bread to feed them, which makes for quite a show. Bangkok's nightlife has a reputation for being wild and rowdy, with famous red light areas as Pat Pong, Nana Plaza, or this Soy Cowboy.
Oh, don't tell my wife I came here.
It was named after the cowboy hat-wearing African-American who opened the first bar here in the early 70s. This red light district has a more laid-back carnival feel to it than Pat Pong or Nana Plaza. Flashing neon lights up a colourful streetscape of go-go bars that line its sides. Don't be shy, it's pretty easygoing and open-minded, and entry is always free and drinks prices are fixed. Bangkok is also famous for its huge shopping malls, with this MBK Centre being one of the largest. At its opening in 1985, it was in fact the largest shopping mall in the whole of Asia.
Holy, look at this mall.
In stories, the centre contains around 2,000 shops, restaurants and service outlets, including the 4-story Tokyo department store. MBK Centre reports daily visitor numbers of more than 100,000, half of whom are young Thai people and a third are foreign visitors. And with this crowded downtown
McDonald's.
street scene on Phetchaburi Road, one of the main arteries running through the city's centre, we conclude our tour through Bangkok. I hope you had a wonderful time, and thank you for watching.
So that was Bangkok, everybody. We already did a London tour, so we don't need to do another one. I don't know why I had two. Alright, so we'll go ahead and do, what time is it? Okay. We'll go ahead and do our Florence one. Actually, no, we'll do the ancient city of Petra, and then we'll do our Florence one to wrap it up.
Petra, Jordan, one of the new 7 wonders of the world. We invite you on a virtual journey to Petra, the ancient and mysterious city in Jordan. Since the 2nd millennium BC, Petra had been the capital of the Nabatean kingdom and the intersection of the main commercial routes between the east and the west. Here we are, in front of Al-Hazna Mausoleum, that was built by one of the Nabatean kings for himself. Many kings wished to be buried in Petra, and their wish came true. We are approaching one of the royal tombs, the Urn Tomb. In the 5th century, this mausoleum was turned into a church. other royal tombs, there is the silk tomb, named for the rich color of the sandstone. The Corinthian and the palace tombs. They were built at the end of the Nabatean period in the 1st century AD. Look at the small cavities in the rocks. These are tombs too. Officials, ministers, and other kings' confidants were buried here. This stone tomb complex was named the Street of Facades. The main part of the city covered around 3 square kilometers. At the time of its prosperity, Petra was full of life. Its population was around 20,000 people. Now we are approaching the majestic amphitheater. This is the evidence that Petra wasn't always the city of the dead. In 106 AD, Petra became a Roman colony. And just imagine how this theater gathered 8,000 people to see gladiator fights, races, and other entertainments. Save the water in this dry area. People carved canals right in the cliffs.
Those are the canals.
Let's get back to Al-Hazna. It is also called treasury for a reason. According to a legend, the treasure of the Egyptian pharaoh is hidden here.
Oh, wow.
Let's have a closer look at the facade of Al-Hazna. The 40-meter-tall mausoleum is decorated with a fancy pattern. On the urn you can see bullet marks left by Bedouins who tried to get the legendary treasures at the beginning of the 20th century. To reach Petra, one has to walk through the long sea gorge, and for 2,000 years, this route has not changed. Just like tourists enter the city nowadays, in the past, ancient caravans arrived in the oasis after an exhausting journey. The only difference is the distance of this way.
Hi, Mr. Camel.
The modern visitor is brought to the gorge by a car, while thousands of years ago, the transportation was camels. Only they could cross the Arabian desert to enter the Nabatean capital, one of the most powerful states of that time, that was created by an Arab nomadic tribe, the Nabateans. An hour walk from here, there is a well-preserved temple at Deir. To get here, you have to pass 800 stair steps. The temple is almost 50 meters tall and fully carved out of the rock. Have a closer look at that Deir. Way no one has seen it before. No tombs were found in the temple, so historians consider it to be the place for solemn gatherings. In the 4th century, it became a Christian monastery. A series of earthquakes destroyed a major part of Petra, and people finally abandoned it in the 7th century. Now, Petra is one of the most famous architectural monuments. Thousands of tourists come here to see this wonder of the world. If you ever happen to come here, don't forget to visit the night show with candles in front of Al-Hasne. It is an unforgettable sight.
Oh wow, that is pretty. All right, so our last section will be Florence.
Hello, and welcome to one of the most historically and culturally rich cities of Italy, Florence. Once a center of European trade and finance, and one of the wealthiest cities of the Middle Ages. From 1865 to 1871, the city served as the capital of the Kingdom of Italy. It is considered to have been the birthplace of the Renaissance, and has therefore been called the Athens of the Middle Ages. Its turbulent political history includes periods of rule by the powerful Medici family, of which we will be hearing more during this visit, and numerous religious and republican revolutions. We're now on Piazza del Duomo, in the heart of the city. Here, in just one glimpse, you can instantly admire some of the main monuments of the historic center, mainly the Basilica of Santa Maria del Fiore and its iconic bell tower.
That must be
This
the bell
square
tower.
is one of the most visited places in Europe and the world. The baptistry of San Giovanni Battista, the octagonal building in front of you, is one of Florence's oldest places of worship. Its appearance is strongly characterized by a combination of Romanesque and early Christian architecture. In the medieval period, it was believed that it was once a pagan temple consecrated to Mars, which was later transformed into a church. Giotto's Campanile is a freestanding bell tower and one of the Florentine showpieces of Gothic architecture. The slender structure is square in plan and almost 85 meters or 280 feet tall. Let's take a closer look to really appreciate the height of it. Pretty tall, right?
Yeah,
Up
I
for a
would say
little
that's pretty
exercise?
tall.
It is possible to climb the 414 steps to reach the top of the tower and enjoy a marvelous view. The waiting line seems a bit too long for us at the moment, since we have so much more to see in Florence. Time to move on. The Palazzo Vecchio, or Old Palace, is another one of the city's treasures that can't be missed, and because of its sheer size, it is actually very hard to miss. It stands for the political power of Florence, first that of the Republic, and later of the Medici dynasty. Today, it
Pizza,
retains its
anybody?
allure as the seat of the city council. The Palazzo Vecchio overlooks the Piazza della Signoria, which has been the center of political life in Florence since the 14th century. It was the scene of great events, such as the Bonfire of the Vanities in 1497, when supporters of Dominican friar Girolamo Savonarola collected and burned thousands of objects, such as cosmetics, art, and books. Today it is a popular location for all types of events. The graceful Loggia dei Lanzi behind you functions as an open-air sculpture gallery. Its curved arches foretell Renaissance classicism. The statue of Perseo, holding Medusa's head, by Benvenuto Cellini, is a stark reminder of what happened to those who crossed the Medici family. Adjacent to the Piazza della Signoria lies the Galleria degli Uffizi, a prominent art museum and one of the most important of Italian museums. After the ruling house of Medici died out, their art collections were gifted to the city of Florence under the famous Patto di Famiglia, negotiated by Anna Maria Luisa, the last Medici heiress. The majority of these artworks are housed in the gallery, which is now one of the most popular tourist attractions of Florence. There are numerous squares in Florence, and each one is more beautiful than the next. This is Piazza di San Firenze, just behind Palazzo Vecchio. The main eye-catcher here is the Bargello, also known as the Palazzo del Popolo, or Palace of the People. It's the castle-like building with bell tower. The Bargello is a former barracks and prison, and now an art museum. Through the center of Florence flows this river, Arno. With a length of 241 kilometers, the Arno is the largest river in the Tuscany region. The flow rate of the Arno is very irregular. It can easily go from almost dry to near flood in a few days. The flood on November 4, 1966, collapsed the embankment in Florence, killing at least 40 people and damaging or destroying millions of works of art and rare books. The colourful bridge on your right is the famous Ponte Vecchio, with quite a rich history. It was the only bridge across the Arno in Florence until 1218. The current bridge was rebuilt after a flood in 1345 destroyed it, and during World War II, it was the only bridge across the Arno that the fleeing Germans did not destroy. During the flood in 1966, the bridge miraculously withstood the tremendous weight of water and silt.
Welcome in,
when the
Anthony.
Arno once
Thank
again
you for coming.
broke its banks. Let's take a look on the bridge, shall we? There have been shops here on the Ponte Vecchio from the 13th century, and initially these were all kinds of shops, including a lot of butchers, fishmongers, and later also tanners. Historical documents speak about the incredibly rank stench that those shops produced in a whole surrounding area. And that's why Ferdinand I decreed that from 1593 onwards, only goldsmiths and jewelers were allowed to have shops here. And until today, those are the shops that have remained. A few minutes' walk from the Ponte Vecchio lies the Palazzo Pitti, a Renaissance palace originally built in 1458 as the town residence of Luca Pitti, an ambitious Florentine banker. The palace was bought by the Medici family in 1549 and became the chief residence of the ruling families of the Grand Duchy of Tuscany. In the late 18th century, the palazzo was used as a power base by Napoleon, and later served for a brief period as the principal royal palace of the newly united Italy. Today, the palazzo is the largest museum complex in Florence. Of course, the main public gardens to visit in Florence are the Boboli Gardens, but there are plenty of other green spaces to hang out if you want to escape the crowded city for a while. Right now, we're in the Giardino della Scuderie Reali, the garden of the royal stables, which houses the Art Institute of Florence, the yellow building across the field. Piazza San Marco was built in the first half of the 15th century when Cosimo de' Medici commissioned the family's favorite architect, Michelozzo, to restore the church of San Marco. Today, the piazza is mainly a transportation hub for buses and taxis. The center statue commemorates General Manfredo Fanti, a soldier and leader in battles for Italian independence and unification. The Church of San Marco was originally built in 1267 and inhabited by Silvestrine monks. But in 1437, through the efforts of Cosimo de' Medici, they were displaced in favor of the Dominicans. The convent of the church is now home to the Museo Nazionale di San Marco. Piazza Santa Croce gets its name from the similarly named basilica, one of the biggest Franciscan churches in Italy, famous for its frescoes and sculptures by famous artists, but also for being the burial place of important historical figures, such as Galilei, Foscolo, Michelangelo, and Machiavelli. One of those famous Italians immortalized by this statue is the poet Dante Alighieri. It was built in 1865 by Italian sculptor Enrico Pazzi to celebrate the 600-year anniversary of the birth of the poet. If you're interested in the life of Dante, there's another spot in the city that you have to visit. This monument and museum is dedicated to Dante Alighieri, the father of the Italian language as we know it today. He was born in Florence in the late 1200s, and he's often referred to as the supreme poet. This museum was built on the place where allegedly he was born, and is a dedication to his life and literary masterpieces. Sunset is a great moment to gaze upon the Piazza del Duomo and its magnificent basilica again, which just looks so amazing as the golden sun rays reflect on the colourful marble. The marble is not painted, but these are all natural existing colours from various marble quarries in Tuscany. Pretty incredible, right? A little stroll around this Piazza della Repubblica is a great way to end your evening. One of the main squares in Florence, it marks the centre of the city since Roman times. It used to be a densely populated area, with a market, the Mercato Vecchio, at its centre. The Colonna dell'Abbondanza, the column of abundance, to the right of the Ferris wheel, marks the spot where the Forum Romano stood.
So they're
Today,
talking about this
the square
column
offers
here.
an impromptu stage to street artists and shows, particularly after sunset. But it's also a great place to visit in the daytime. The present appearance of the square is the result of the city planning announced and carried out on the proclamation of Florence as the capital of Italy, 1865 to 71. Following this transformation, the square became a kind of lounge for the town. Since then, refined palaces, luxury hotels, department stores, and elegant cafes have sprung up around it and became meeting points for many of the city's artists and writers. The Piazza della Mercato Nuovo, the square of the new market, was built in the 16th century and intended mainly for the trade of luxury goods like silk. These days, it's a place where a lot of souvenirs and leather items are sold. And there is one item that attracts a lot of attention, and that is the Fountain of the Piglets. It is said that if you rub his nose, it will bring you good luck, so that's what all these people are doing. The Basilica di San Lorenzo lies at the center of the city's main market district, and it is the burial place of all the principal members of the Medici family. It is one of several churches that claim to be the oldest in Florence, having been consecrated in 393 AC. It may look fairly remarkable from the outside, but it is quite spectacular from the inside. Let's take a look. Despite the obvious classical influences, with this truly being a Renaissance church, San Lorenzo still breathes the Florentine Gothic tradition. There are a number of elements derived from the Santa Maria del Fiore, like the white plastered walls and the large round windows in the lunettes. Filippo Brunelleschi, the leading Renaissance architect of the first half of the 15th century, was commissioned to design this church, but it wasn't finished till after his death. The Cappelle Medici, the domed building with white ornamented window frames, was built as extensions to the San Lorenzo church, with the purpose of celebrating the Medici family, patrons of the church, and Grand Dukes of Tuscany. The Sagrestia Nuova, new sacristy inside, was designed by Michelangelo. Standing atop one of the highest points in the city is the San Miniato al Monte Basilica. It has been described as one of the finest Romanesque structures in Tuscany and one of the most scenic churches in Italy. No wonder it is a popular setting for wedding sheets. At the heart of the bohemian and arty Oltrarno neighborhood, Piazza Santo Spirito sits off of the beaten path of tourist sites. The square is lined with cafes and restaurants, hosts a small daily market, and is home to Brunelleschi's last church. Particularly in the summer, the square is always busy, with bar patrons spilling out into the piazza, and locals grabbing a beer or bottle of wine from a nearby mini-market to enjoy on a bench. And here, at the Piazzale di Michelangelo, with this gorgeous view of the city and its landmarks, our trip has come to an end. I hope you had a great time, and
Well, I hope you guys liked that. I thought that was very interesting. Something a little different than us just riding some rides. Again, please make sure you're all hitting that like button if you did enjoy it. And also maybe leave a comment if you want to see some more of these videos, or if we should go back to the rides. You know, leave a comment down below and let me know. But I thank everybody for coming, and I hope you have a great evening. And make sure you have that notification bell on for when I go live again. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. And I'll see you all next time.